Namaskar. Today I would like to talk about the journey of a hero. These thoughts were inspired by one verse in Sanskrit which describes a human journey. It says that in the beginning of the journey, we are all animals, animal-like, pashu. What is this pashu? Pashu is somebody who is guided totally by materialism. Normally in a human being there is a collision of two forces. One is the force of materialism, our instincts, our vrittis. The four forces, four drives within us: sleeping, eating, procreating, and seeking security. As we develop, as we are getting more and more civilized, those drives, they receive more and more refined expression, but fundamentally, principally, they remain the same. So whenever we are confined only to these four, basically when we are searching for comforts and we are living materialistic lives, we are considered to be as a pashu, animal-like creatures. So in the beginning, nothing wrong with that, because in the beginning everyone is a pashu. From the birth we are pashus. When the child is born, child doesn't have any divinity. It is very primitive and it is evolving, developing. The ego structure is developing, the body is developing, the cells are developing, and when personality of a child develops well, then he or she discovers a higher dimension of life. So in the beginning, this shloka, this verse says that in the beginning all of us are pashus, animal-like creatures, physically resembling humans, but psychologically animal-like. And then at the last stage we are devatas, divine beings, without fear, without malice, without darkness, pure light. And in between, so humanity is the stage somewhere between animality and divinity. We are walking that borderline, that silver lining between animality and divinity. In us, two forces collide: the force of animality and the force of divinity, with its four spiritual instincts: the instinct for expansion, the instinct for harmony, the desire to be in rhythm with the cosmic, the instinct for service, and instinct for liberation. So those four instincts, they collide with eating, sleeping, procreating, and seeking security. There is, human body is a blender of animality and divinity. And middle portion is supposed to be humanity. But in this verse it doesn't say that on the second stage you become human. But what does it say? It says you become a hero, viira. You become a hero, a person who encountered spiritual ideology. You can encounter spiritual ideology in two ways. One way is by finding a teacher who will introduce you different things. The way to live, a heroic way to live. And second way is by searching within. You look within and you find the answers. You find answers. And when you found sufficient number of answers, you become a man of principle. You become a man of ideology. At that moment, you become a hero. You become not only hero, you become epic hero. So there is a story about you in all the epics of the world, in Mahabharata, in Ramayana, in Bible, and in Matrix, and in Lord of the Rings, and in Star Wars. In all those epic books, all those films, they speak in one voice the story of your life, the story of your journey. So, hero goes through a certain journey. First, he is a pashu, he is animal-like. He lives in ignorance for himself. He lives for himself. I just enjoy my life. Normally, he's a happy person, carefree person. And then something happens, something dramatic happens. Either there is some situation, like for example, there was a prince, Siddhartha, Gautama Buddha, who became Buddha in the end. But first he wasn't a Buddha. And his father was prophesied. There was a prophecy. The astrologers saw the horoscope of Buddha, and they foretold, they said that either he will be a great king or he will become a great saint, ascetic, who will forsake the world, who will dedicate himself to the spiritual pursuit. So father, when he heard that, he didn't like that. So he took all the measures to safeguard his son, that he should never become ascetics. He should never become a god man. He should never become a spiritual seeker. And in his father's opinion, he was thinking that why? Who is becoming a seekers of truth? The losers. The person who, encountered some failures and some in the material world, in some misfortunes in the material world, the person who have encountered some suffering in the material world. So that's why they turned to spirituality. So that was his idea. So he surrounded his son with abundant luxury, with a beautiful fragrant life. There was everything so beautiful in their palace. But so Buddha was living like that, like a pashu, a person who was ignorant of his own destiny. And then something dramatic has happened. His eyes were opened. They went down to the city with his servant, and then in the city they saw a dying man, they saw a sick man, and they saw old man. So future Buddha asked, what is this? My Lord, this is a sickness. So everybody is getting sick? Yes, my Lord. And then what is this? My Lord, this is called death. Are we all going to die? Yes, my Lord. What is this? This is old age, my Lord. Are we all going to become old? Yes, my Lord. So the young prince came back to the palace, completely transformed, completely changed. So he thought for a while. He was going through this awakening inside. And then he left his palace to find the way to overcome the afflictions, to overcome the suffering. And then he formulated his philosophy on that realization. There is a suffering, there is a reason for suffering, there is a cessation of suffering, and there is a path to cease the suffering, to end the suffering. So he was searching for the truth, he was meditating, he was going from teacher to teacher, trying to learn the way, but nobody could teach him. And then finally many people taught him, but he was not achieving the highest. Then finally he took this great determination of Buddha, which was like this: Ihasane shusyatu me shariram tvagastimam sapralencha jatam aprabhya bodhir shataka pakalam naiva sanat chalishyati me shariram. It means even if this body will dry up, even the skin, flesh and bone will destroy itself in this pursuit, even if I have to sit in this posture for thousands of years before I attain the final enlightenment, this body will not move from its position. So this was the determination of Buddha. So he sat and he struggled, and finally he achieved. Finally he achieved. And then he came back as an all-powerful entity with wisdom, with the divine message to other people. And then he shared it. So now we have Buddhism, and there are like this, there are many. If you take the story of Christ, is similar. All the stories. And why? All the stories are very touching. Why these stories? Because they are about us. They are about us. We are epic heroes. We are to follow, to pursue this goal. We are to tread the path. And there is a moment when you are unaware of your destiny, you are unaware of your purpose. But then comes the moment of awakening. A teacher comes, Anakin Skywalker, living in very remote planet of Tatooine in the Star Wars. He is just there. He knows this great destiny is throbbing within him, but he is just a child. He doesn't understand what it is. And then a teacher comes and takes him and goes with him and teaches him everything for him to become something. No, but later he turned to the dark side. Anyway, he tried. He tried. So sometimes it's like this. Sometimes path does not go directly to the light. It can go to the darkness, then to the light, darkness, light, but ultimately it comes to the light. So this middle stage is the stage of hero. So to be truly human, we have to become a hero. This is the message. To be truly. That's why this shloka, this struck me when first time I saw it. Okay, first stage is animal, the last stage is divine, but in the middle, they don't say human, it says viira. Viira means heroic stage. So all of us who have awakened to our destiny, to our nature, to our divine nature, we have to courageously move on this path. And then on this path there will be some temptation. There is one painting. I went into this Tretьяков gallery in Moscow, and there is one painting there. It's a painting of Jesus Christ, and the temptation of Jesus Christ when he is sitting in the desert, and he's just looking at like this, and his hands locked like this and very tense. So in his body you can perceive that inner struggle going on. It is very inspiring, very strong painting. You look at him, there is. So on this path, first there will be awakening. Then to mature as a hero, you have to meet with some opposition. You have to meet with some obstacle, face that obstacle, fight that obstacle, and then come out of it. And then when you come out of the tribulations, when you come out of the difficulties, out of darkness, you come as an effulgent divine entity. And that divine entity, everybody is waiting for that divine entity. My spiritual master, he said like this. He said, all problems in the world, they are created by pashus. by the people with animal-like mentality, by the people who have nothing else in life except materialism. All problems of the world, they are created by this kind of beings. And then these problems are endured by the heroes. And then these problems are solved by the gods. So our path is to finally transform ourselves into gods, into divine beings, and then with that divine power solve all the problems of this planet. But we have to start solving now, even if we are not in divine stage but in the heroic stage, and the solving of the problems will help. But when we transform ourselves into divinity, then there is no end to our ability to contribute to the welfare of the world. So when you see the movies, when you read the books, the Matrix, the Lord of the Rings, Mahabharata, Ramayana, know one thing: these books are about you, written about you. This is your part. You are the main hero of those books. You are that epic hero. You are that human being who is to save the world. Thank you very much. Namaskar.